What up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Not a Journalist with Brian Holiday, and I'm sitting here with Daniel, aka Protoman.
Oh, yo, yo.
What's up, Protoman? How you been, man?
I've been good. I've
Uh,
been good.
Protoman
Been
is sharing everything, all the links, and I am doing the same. So if you guys are watching this and you see us both not looking into the screen, we still love you. Shout outs to Lee J, who's already tuned in.
excellent.
Lee J.
Geeky ass chair.
What's Lee J? Yo, it's Lee J is always at the cons with you. What is he doing right now if he's not getting to go to the cons with you?
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is, I mean, it's been pretty bad in the convention scene right now because, like, I don't want to like take like credit for it, but it's like just because of the way the schedule was, I was like one of the first conventions that had to cancel when all this craziness like came down.
Yeah.
Because like my show was going to be like early April, and already like when all this came down, it was late February, and it was just me going like, ooh, I'm not feeling this, a month to really like. So I was just like, you know what, forget it, fuck it, better to play it safe. I mean, the way it goes with cons is you're always going to be in a tight knit environment.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's the thing. I feel like because I'm hearing some people grumble. I've had some friends message me that they're really upset about Montreal Comic Con, and and as much as I understand that the con is a time of year where we all get to geek out and have fun. I mean, we without COVID-19, we always joked about con SARS or convention flu or con flu and stuff like that.
Oh, we have a term that we use. We used to call it con crud.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is like because when you do like, especially when you do shows that are international, you have people coming from everywhere, and I always found that like at the end of that weekend when like the Monday comes, all of a sudden your throat is sore,
Yep.
your nose is running, you don't know what you got, and it's just because you shook one hand or something, and that's any other day out of the year.
Exactly.
Let alone this year that's just like I keep saying it to everybody, like 2020 is just a wash at this point for me.
The year is genuinely, and I feel like that needs to be clear to a lot of people. I know a lot of people are really excited about like potential summer, stores are opening back, maybe I'll get to go see a movie. Guys, I just want you to remember that if you're going to a movie, you're going to end up buying 9 tickets because you're going to need to build a perimeter of one seat in every direction around you. If you're going to go to like a store and you're going shopping and stuff like that, I mean, I wouldn't want to try on the clothes that other people have been touching. I wouldn't want to like just like even just going to the grocery store when I have to tap my card. Today I went to the grocery store and they told me, "Oh, you can't tap your card because I needed to take out $5 to give somebody a tip." And I was just like, "Oh, I have to touch it?"
It's gotten to a point now too, like even like if let's say conventions did happen, imagine being a dealer, and especially like me being a dealer for years too prior to running my own shows, people come up, they mess with the product, they touch it, and then they put it back. What are you going to wipe down every single thing that every single person picks? Like it's the logistics of it makes sense. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, even like let's put it this way: if we have the border lockdowns, that means if you're going to have guests at your show that are from anywhere in the States, which would Montreal Comic Con, that's a lot of them.
Yes.
Now they can't show up, they can't cross the border, and if they cross the border, maybe they can't come back. Who knows? It's just it's such a headache to kind of even try to make it happen. Just accept the fact that this year is a wash, and we'll see each other in 6 months or so, and hopefully everything will be fine, and then we could, forget this ever happened. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I know for you, because you also run conventions, I can only imagine that this has been a difficult time. I've had another friend. We were supposed to be at our first convention of the Franklin Armstrong Collective. We were supposed to be at GeekitCon. Well, hosting our first panel, because we've been to your conventions, which has been awesome, and we always have great time. We've done live broadcasts at Retro Expo, which I fucking love. Those were so much fun. Like seeing all the kids come over when we had masks to give away that year, and they were all just like, and just seeing like which characters kids don't like because it's like free masks. But when you run out of mask and you only have one character left, and the kids come over and they see it and they're like, no, and they walk off.
I've had the same thing. I would give away Transformer toys. It's like, do you want the Megatron? They're like,
no.
No.
That one's boring. Yeah.
That one's boring. He's purple.
Yeah. Damn it, it's the color of royalty, kid. Learn your stuff. There's a reason Galvatron had a crown. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's been pretty crazy. But how have you been doing other than that, man? Quarantine life for you. I know you. I see
Like,
the collection behind you, so it's probably still fun.
yeah. Well, you know what? Like at the end of the day, it's. I kept saying this to a lot of people, and even like I had family members ask me, like, "How are you holding out?" And I'm like, you know what? If there's one generation that was built for like staying at home and just chilling, it's this one.
Yeah.
Because if this same thing would have happened in the 80s,
Oh my
I would
god.
understand people bouncing off the walls and
Yeah.
going like, getting cabin fever. But I mean, we got Netflix, download content, the internet, FaceTime, like
Yeah.
we're so, and with Dine, whatever it's called there, Dine and Dash or whatever, all the delivery
Oh
food
yeah,
stuff.
DoorDash, Uber Eats. Yeah.
I mean, we're so built for this that I'm glad it happened now and not 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Where then we would have been like, oh man, like how do you get had to go to Blockbuster to rent like one movie when now I could just stream 60,000.
Yeah.
Like it's great too because now people are like, you know what, I'm bored. I'm just going to open up YouTube and learn cooking, or I'm just going to
Yeah.
we're so built for it now. So I'm glad at least that it happened now. And for me, I've been holding up great because again, we're kind of built for it. Like it's as much as I'm saying I don't want to say it's a blessing, but it's hey, now build that model kit that I've been sitting on for months that I didn't have time because of work, or now I could watch that show and like, I don't have the time. Like I see with you, like you watch stuff on, was it like 1.3 speed or
1.5?
Yeah, like me, I can't even watch TV because it's like in my mind I'm like, man, to watch like 4 episodes of something that's 2 hours I don't got.
Yeah.
It really, and let alone to watch a movie. Like people always ask me like, what are you watching right now? I'm like, nothing. What movies do you see in theaters? Nothing. Like unless it's like a big movie that I really want to go out of my way to see, like let's say even certain Marvel movies, not even all of them, only certain ones. I'm just not, I don't have time for that. So now it's like I have all the time in the world, catch up on this stuff, video game stuff, and not to mention on the creative side with the podcasts and doing stuff from a creative nature when it comes to like third-party Transformer stuff and writing. There's so much stuff I finally have time to really sit down and enjoy that in a small way it's a blessing. So
well, you know what? I think what I'll say is I realize it's not that you're saying a blessing, but there's a silver lining to the dark cloud. Yeah. It's probably the best way. Yeah.
It's what we always complain about how, man, I can't wait till I'm retired. I'll have all the time in the world to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Well, now we've got the time, like, I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing people. It's like, I know when this is all over, people are going to be like, man, like I can't wait for my 2-week vacation. We some of us had a 2-month vacation.
Yeah, man.
Granted, yes, financial problems come with it. We're making less money or no money at all for some people. I understand their situations, but at least the free time is the silver lining of it in a small sense.
Yeah.
So,
and I'd like to think that some people have taken advantage to be with family and stuff. I know.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I know some people who definitely didn't spend time with their family as much as they wanted to. I've had friends regularly tell me that they wish they could see their kids more, or they could be with their spouse more at home. And then obviously they make the jokes about like, oh, if only I could tell myself, don't be careful what you wish for, in the sense that like their kids are driving them up the wall, their spouse is like criticizing them with every other sound they make. But that has more to do with the fact that people are just in the same space for long periods of time, but once that kind of hump, I know a lot of people got over that hump and they're just they're into their routines now and they're being comfortable and they're being happy. I think that is the like we're saying, the silver lining to people being able to take full advantage of being home and being with family, being with loved ones, and like you were saying, being creative. That's one of the harder parts, man. You and I are the type of people who have the drive.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I think that it's because of my hobby, especially. I think that, especially when you do it like me, I do a daily podcast.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like when I had work before, it's go to work, come home, bang out that podcast, upload, supper, boom, boom, go to bed.
Yeah.
Now it's like sleep until 11. Like my sleep schedule is messed up.
Yeah, man, I know.
I don't know how I'm gonna bounce back, but it's like it's been like, I'm worried sometimes. I'm like looking out the window and the sun's rising. I'm just going like, oh no. What are you doing? You're not 14 anymore. Like it's getting so crazy, but at the same time, as you know, again, like you said, because we're creative individuals, now we have like this great canvas that we could do all this kind of stuff. And because I do a daily podcast, I could pump out a lot more content throughout the day. There's no rush.
Yeah.
You know, I could sometimes really edit it a lot better. Sometimes you have to just really rush it out the door. So I like that a lot, at least. Again, like I said, there's a big positive I see in this. Does it suck standing in line waiting for food at Maxi sometimes for a while or stuff like? Of course it does.
Yeah.
And here's something that totally didn't dawn on me until this, because I pretty much go out for food every 2 weeks, and it's like shame on me because I'm a mechanic.
Yeah.
I go to start my car, battery's dead.
Oh.
Because I haven't driven it for 2 weeks. And my car, you know, it has Bluetooth, so it puts a load on the battery even when you're not driving it.
Oh,
so
interesting.
now, like, if I'm leaving for Maxi or whatever to go get groceries, I have to charge the car the night before just to make sure it's ready to go in the morning. So, like, it's, again, there's inconveniences.
Man, that's something I never even thought of.
Yeah, it's because, again, you have your alternator. If you're not driving your car, you're not charging the battery. You know, even if it's a gasoline car, it doesn't make a difference. You know, that stuff happens. So, again, I'm trying to make the best of it. I feel I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
I started doing streaming on Saturday nights for the first time, like, ever, just because I have the time now. Where normally my weekends were the only time I had any free time. Why would I do it streaming or like, you know? Now it's like, hey, I'm home every day now. Yeah. Might as well, you know, turn on the webcam and see what's happening with people. And, you know, the Transformer community is really awesome, and they always come out in droves when I do streaming. So it's fun to do.
When you're doing streaming, what kind of stuff are you guys discussing? Like, what's the
literally like Q&A.
Okay.
It's a lot of Q&A because I'm lucky to be in a hobby where news happens like every day. There's always something happening. There's this that's announced, this Walmart listing got leaked, this toy is coming out, this is coming out, this is getting listed, this movie's, like, just in the past week, Beast Wars, a movie has been announced.
I heard, yeah.
And an animated movie at the same time also.
Okay.
That's probably, and then Hasbro's like, oh, we're going to be doing 21 movies across all our brands. So that's a lot of stuff to discuss right there. And it's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of people just really, you know, just going back and forth and with ideas and stuff. Because the one good thing with Transformers is, even though there's thousands of characters, it's pretty easy to predict where a lot of things are going. Okay. And when you look at it from a business standpoint, when it comes to trademarks and like, people always go like, oh man, why are they doing XYZ movie? Why are they doing a Back to the Future movie again, or Bill and Ted or whatever? It's because companies have to renew trademarks. Yeah. That's what if they don't put out a Back to the Future Blu-ray box set, they got to do something. And they go, oh my God, what if we lose that trademark? Yeah. You know, like, that's money on licensing and t-shirts. Yeah. So it's the same thing with Transformers and IPs, like the name Hot Rod. Yeah. Like, they have to constantly put out a product with that trademark every 3 to 4 years. Otherwise, they could potentially lose it. So they make sure that character appears as a toy in a movie, something, every 3 to 4 years. And that applies to everything across the spectrum.
Didn't they lose one of them at one point and had to, like, call it Autobot this every time?
There was a lot of, like, during the Beast Wars era between 1996 and 2003, going into the Unicron trilogy, they didn't think about the trademarks. Oh. So they lost Bumblebee, they lost Hot Rod, but they didn't think that was, you know, like, you know, hindsight's 2020. We see the Michael Bay movies today, and we go, oh, what a big franchise, you know, and how important all of this is. But in 1996, when they did Beast Wars, the only reason why they did Beast Wars was because they thought, no one cares about Transformers. Let's do something outside of the box. Let's do something different. And it became a smash success, and then everything fell into place afterwards. But back then, there was no Bumblebee. There was not a Bumblebee character between 1995 and 2008, 2007. Like, literally, that was like a huge gap, huge gap of 12 years of no Bumblebee. And I can't even imagine there not being Bumblebee. He's having movies named after him.
At one point, he was called Goldbug too, right? There was some kind of switch up.
That was just them back in the day wanting to refresh stuff. That was in 1980. Okay. They were just kind of going like, you know, out with the, because back in the day, you got one, each character got one toy and the one toy, and that was it.
Yeah.
But no one, like today, now it's like there's like a million Optimus Prime toys. Back in the day, you got the one Prime toy, and that's it. So in order to kind of refresh certain characters, they had to get new bodies. They had to get upgrades somehow. So Bumblebee became Goldbug, Optimus Prime became Power Master Optimus Prime, Hot Rod became Rodimus Prime.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys like Grimlock and Jazz became Pretenders. Like they always did something to kind of change up their design in order to refresh it, because today now it's like we're going to give you this toy again and then this toy again in 5 years.
We poured the mold one more time.
Oh, the mold 50 times over. I mean,
was it you who
behind?
I feel like I had this conversation either with you or someone else who's knowledgeable about Transformers, where the mold for some of the Transformers, because they kept using the same mold, the mold like expands and they weren't.
So what happened was, back in the day, how molds used to be done, they used to be done with metal cast molds.
Yeah. And
certain characters, like the best example would be Starscream and the Seeker Jets. When those guys got over and over and over, like you think of Thundercracker, Skywarp, and Starscream, but there's like the Coneheads, there's like all the other guys, Sunstorm, Acid Storm, Hot Link, there's Red Wing. There's so many of that same design that they pressed it so many times that the molds just degraded. They fell apart. Today, that doesn't really happen anymore because everything's done with CAD. Everything's done with computers now.
Yeah.
So molds don't really break down. Everything's like 3D printing in a sense. You know what I mean? It's all done differently. But back in the day, that was a big problem. And a lot of toys, you pick up like the first release of it. It's nice and tight, the joints. And as you go through the releases throughout the years, you all of a sudden start
loose.
Details were like disappearing on the surfaces. It was loose right out of the package.
Yeah.
So like, again, that's just the process of how the toys are done. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff too when you're talking gold plastic and all kinds of other stuff and oxidation. And that's the plight of being a toy collector over 30 plus years.
Man,
being in a toy collectors too.
Dude, so. I remember when you and I went to see the first Michael Bay Transformer film. We went in. You had a hot rod in your pocket. We went. Probably that one, if anything.
The one that I brought to the theater was actually in case you have enough, I have like about this mold specifically. I think I have like maybe like 20 of them.
Oh my God!
The one that I brought with to the theater was the very first one I ever got.
Yeah.
Back in, I want to say 1998, I got it, which was kind of late actually in my mind. But it's just, to me, like even you have to understand from my perspective. Like you were sitting next to me during that whole time.
You didn't take a breath. For the whole opening sequence, I had to tell you, Daniel, breathe.
Yeah, I understand. Like from hindsight again. Like we rag on the movies now and how creatively bankrupt they are in Hollywood and everything. But back then, I couldn't even imagine. Like, if you would have told me, how could you picture this? Because you have to understand, too, what CG was back in, like, let's say 2006 when this was all being put together. Like, I used to say, like, what was it, the Ang Lee Hulk movie?
Yes.
Like, the Hulk, second one? I said, if it looks good as Hulk looked in that, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't imagine that photorealistic CG that now we're so used to today.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine it. Like, it just wasn't there. Let alone it being Transformers. Like, I'm still picturing Megazord Power Rangers in my head. Like, God, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. And maybe it was just the pessimist in me. And here's a guy who, like, I was a lifelong fan of the brand. Like, you remember me even in high school. I was touting this shit, like, 20 years prior to that. Like, it was just, and then here it is. And this could be make or break. This could be either like what X-Men and Spider-Man did for their brands on or like the Super Mario movie and just go in the direction. So I was like, let's see what happens. And I went into it positive. Yeah. But just they're like specifically the arrival of the Autobot scene.
Yes.
Like that was like goosebumps. Like just me going like, holy shit, I think we did it.
Yeah.
I think we did it.
And
oh my God. All of a sudden, the newspapers contacting me locally in Montreal, me being on This Morning Live, all of a sudden, all these like phone calls out of nowhere from people that I knew like from college that ended up going on to doing radio stuff and then going, we need to have you on the show, like to talk about this because this became like this phenomenon overnight.
Yeah.
So it's always been around, but I used to always say like Transformers peaked in 1985.
Yeah.
Like with G1 1985 was when it was like a household name. Everyone was bootlegging it. Everyone wanted to be Transformers. Then it kind of peaked again in 1998 with Beast Wars.
Yep. Yep.
It was the number one selling boys toy line. It beat the N64, which up to that point, video game systems were always the number one holiday toy for boys. Beast Wars in '98 did it, but you know, even though it was a number one, it still wasn't like household name, but it was doing very well. And I thought that's it. And then after that, it was kind of a downward slope. And honestly, what Transformers was in 2006 and 2005 was kind of on life support. It was just kind of getting by. And when that movie came out, it just like it injected it with steroids, Hulk Hogan style. And in all honesty, it never really came down since. Like I feel like it hit peak craziness in like let's say 2009, 2010, Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah.
That's when like everyone was a Transformer fan. Were people that I knew for years who were like never transform, never buy, and then they're coming up to me going like, "Hey, what's a really good Ironhide toy to get?" And I'll be like, "What the?
Why are you
selecting?" You know, like when I was like, you know, and you were just like freaking sitting around like reading like I don't know, like fucking porn or something. Like it didn't make it. It was crazy. It was so crazy. It was so crazy. But at the same time, like I was happy that it happened because it opened up new opportunities for me. The conventions started to grow. Like I feel like 2007, a lot of things happened that year. That first Michael Bay movie happened. Big Bang Theory happened, which, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Big Bang Theory, but I recognize what it did for mainstream, for geek culture.
Yeah.
iPhone really hit its stride and came out. So all of a sudden, people who, like, it used to be going on the internet was sitting in front of a computer, which was designated to one room. It was a geeky thing to do. Now you could lie in bed, lie on the couch, and browse the internet. So those three things happened at the same time, and it exploded opportunities.
Yeah,
all of a sudden, all the opportunities for geek culture just blew up on a mainstream nation. And I remember because Facebook, I think, had come out, like legit, Facebook had come out like a year prior to that. I think it was like
2004
or 2000, 2005 versus 2000. And I remember I ran the Montreal Transformers Facebook group on Facebook. It still exists. It's like it's dead now, obviously, because like Facebook like archives them or something. But I remember that group had 14 people on it. After that movie came out, it like exploded to like 300 people.
Oh shit!
And I was like, okay, something's going on here. You know, like where are all these people coming from? But it's just something that should have dawned on me because it happened with X-Men and Spider-Man in 2001 and 2002 when those movies came out, where people who all of a sudden never read a Wolverine book, and I'm wearing it right now, were looking at Hugh Jackman and going like, "Hey, look at this guy," you know. And
even though he's like the epitome of what Wolverine is not, like he's a big guy,
6'2", you know, and Wolverine like 5'3", you know. Well, Chris Claremont and Frank Miller used to always say that in their mind, back when they wrote the old miniseries back in the 80s, they pictured like a short Clint Eastwood. That was like, that like specifically this one, specifically like the you can barely see it, but the Frank Miller,
with the scruff.
It's like a grizzly, you know, like that haggard kind of like, if you see like the good, the bad, and the ugly, or even Dirty Harry, like that kind of, but take Clint Eastwood, make him like, you know, 5'5", and then, you know, and that's it.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Now that you've said that, I can visualize.
Well, it was written in like, you know, like at the back of a lot of comics, they had like the people writing in, you know, like old snail mail back in the day. I asked them, they're like, who would you imagine for a live action movie if they did one? This was like, I think when they asked this question, it was like 1985. They were coming off of like Giant Size X-Men and the whole international X-Men team at the time. So it was, you know, and then the ironic thing was when they were doing those first X-Men movies, like that short list of who was supposed to be Wolverine, you had like Danny DeVito on there.
What?
I know. Yeah, you know, hindsight again, it's like really like, you know, the Penguin, like, come on, man. But he was on a short list. Jean-Claude Van Damme was another one too.
Okay.
They wanted guys who were short that potentially could be believable for the role.
Yeah.
And No, it ended up on whatever Kate and Leopold, whatever Mr. Kate. Like, what was he doing prior to that?
He did like is. No, I was gonna say Tristan and Isolde, but no, that's not him. But
Maybe.
yeah, he was doing those types of movies, and he wasn't even like muscular at the time. That's the other thing. When you see the first X-Men movie, and then you see him in like the last ones, and then even in the Logan, the body transformation that he put himself through is I have to admit is impressive. Like the guy was pretty much just eating and sleeping, working out to get himself.
Well, you also have a guy who, unlike everyone else we've seen thus far in these Marvel movies or even DC, even how many people literally out of everything of these comic movies has done a role consistently that long?
True.
Like,
yeah.
Like you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If it really starts with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man,
yeah,
okay, we're here. What was it? 2007? 2008 that movie came out. So Infinity War, which was kind of his last appearance, what was that, 2018? I'm bad with dates. So he did that for a consistent 10 years, but luckily for him, he's a CG head in an iron suit. And Tony Stark always, kind of has to have facial hair, and so he kind of was able to get away with it most of the time. Not many topless scenes for Tony Stark with the repulsor ray.
Yeah, just a big hole in his chest.
The point is he got away with it. Where Hugh Jackman, it's like Wolverine's all about like tattered clothing and coming out some goop tank.
Oh yeah.
Omega,
Oh my God, I gotta say though, those movies were fun, and I do think that, we can admit that the industry. The film industry is an important part to building fandoms. One of my concerns, though, right now is the fact that a lot of the stuff that people are attracted to, such as the movies like Transformers, and you mentioned Spider-Man, X-Men, MCU, and all that stuff, a lot of that stuff comes from comic books or cartoons and stuff like that were originally made for kids way back when, and they weren't necessarily as popular. But now a lot of those industries in this situation are getting affected by that. I mean, I don't know if you've spoken to your local comic book shop lately, but it's getting tougher.
I have, actually. I texted them. I'll give a shout out to Captain Quebec and Charlie.
Yeah.
They've been my go-to for a while. I would go to them all the time to get my Transformer books, and I actually talked about it on my podcast. I said, when this stuff, because what hurt me more than anything was what was going to be this past weekend, Brian. It was going to be free comic book day.
I know. And
it killed me because I was sitting at home, and it was a Saturday, and I'm just like, today I would have been doing the tour, hitting up all the stores. And what I would do is I do like a tour. I go to every store in Montreal, and I do the downtown strip, and every store I take a bunch of books, but I give back money too. I buy something.
Right, exactly.
Just to put money back into those guys, even though if I don't go to Cosmics on DeCarry, or if I don't go to, what's it called there, Librerie Expo or something. Like just because I don't go to those guys, I'll go to them this time, pick up one or two free books, but then I'll pick up a trade or something. Or an alternate cover that looks nice, even if I'm not even going to read it, just to put money back into it. But with the case of like even Captain Quebec, I talked to Charlie, and I was saying on my podcast, I'm like, when these guys do open up again, pick up your books.
Yeah.
Pick up. Don't leave them hanging, because that's a big problem that a lot of comic book stores suffer from. Is they get guys who make a pull list and then they disappear. They just ghost them.
Yeah.
And they never see them ever again. And that was a big problem for them, especially because of those Marvel movies, because you had guys that would come in
and
they'd be
so
like,
excited.
man, I freaking saw Thor. Really like that movie. Put me on a pull list for Thor books.
Yeah.
They get that first Thor book. They read it. They didn't like it. But the comic book store is still pulling them out for them every month, every Wednesday. Yeah. Well, not every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, once a month. And it got to a point that they just have these back issues, people not claiming them, and there's no they don't take like deposits. A lot of these comic book stores, it really is a trust situation.
I know, yeah.
And it just got bad for them, and so they ended up with a lot of extra inventory. And the comic book industry has had a lot of problems throughout the years. They always survive because they're kind of, how do I put it? They're kind of like they're different than the video store industry and a lot of others, because direct market comic book stores started in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
They survived heavily because of just how popular comics were, especially then. People don't realize just how many millions of copies of
yeah.
comics were sold back then. Today, if a book makes 20,000 sales,
Yeah.
that's like considered a success today.
Yeah.
Back then, it's a failure. You
Of
know,
course,
like we don't even know the circulation numbers of the 50s and the 60s because everything was done in like newsstands.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
people, like even something like the rare Action Comics #1, right? One of the most valuable comic books of all time.
First
What's
appearance of
crazy
Soup.
about that is that comic book probably had a circulation of like 3 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where some garbage book today
Yeah.
probably has a circulation of maybe like 10,000. But the difference is obviously, no one thought that, that Action was going to be money. The comic books back then were disposable like newspapers.
Yeah.
They were.
Well, yeah.
So like, you read it once, you threw it out.
Yeah, exactly. No, like people collecting wasn't a thing when comic books first started.
Well, the speculation boom of comic books, it pretty much what happened is stamps became this thing in the 70s, and then people then started looking at baseball cards next, and then in the early 80s, that's when people started going, maybe there's something to comic books here. And you have what's his name who runs Diamond Distributing, Giuseppe whatever. You can Google him. He was the first one who was kind of like, oh man, I need to go out and buy every single key issue. And when I mean key issue, like him going out and Amazing Fantasies #15, first appearance of Spider-Man, Detective Comics #1, first appearance of Batman, Hulk 180, 181, first appearance of Wolverine. He started going out there hoarding all those books because he knew that this thing was going to blow up. Then the 90s happened, which what we call is the speculator boom, which is everyone thought everything was going to be worth
my God.
money.
Yeah.
Every single book got bought and put into a poly bag.
Yeah.
Everyone thought
every time a #1 was written on a comic book, it was
the #1 selling comic book of all time outside of, like I said, because they didn't really keep track in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
But the #1 selling comic book of all time is X-Men #1 in 1990 by Jim Lee.
That's
5 different covers.
Yes.
It was like, what was it, like 4.3 million copies sold. Today, you get it for about $2. Even today.
But
like
it is a beautiful
it's
cover.
It's a great book.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
A great book.
I was gonna say.
Great book, great art. Great writer. Chris Claremont was the writer. Jim Lee's an amazing artist.
Yeah.
Great book. But there's billions of them out there. Everyone thought it was going to be worth money. Everyone put them into bags and boards.
Yeah.
The logic is when anything is worth money, it's always supply and demand mixed with hype.
Yeah.
Which is, you could take something that's like extremely rare, but if no one gives a shit, then you're not going to get money. Like you could be like, oh, I own this. Let me think of an obscure toy line. Cowboys of Moo Mesa, And like I own this Cowboy of Moo Mesa prototype and of the main character Moo and everything. It's one of a kind. But if no one gives a shit about that toy line, it's not Ninja Turtles. It's not Biker Mice from Mars or Street Sharks.
Oh my God,
no
Street Sharks.
Sorry?
I forgot about Street Sharks until you just said it.
When you don't have that hype, then the value doesn't really matter, no matter how rare it is.
Yeah.
But you take those key issues, and that's why we use the term key issues with comic books, is because all of a sudden, an issue like, the best example, Batman Adventures I think it's number 11 or number 12. It was a 90s comic book that was like, who would think like Batman Adventures was it was a comic book adaptation of the Batman animated series, the famous animated series. Issue number 11, when you think like, okay, if I gave you like the entire run of that comic, which book do you think would be worth the most money? You think, okay, well, I guess the first one maybe.
Yeah.
Even still a 90s book, which doesn't mean much. But what was issue 11's biggest claim to fame? It's the first time Harley Quinn was featured in a comic book.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's Harley.
And then you factor in, oh, here's this Suicide Squad movie coming out, regardless if the movie did good or not, and if you liked it, but it created hype.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, mainstream people who are only used to, let's say, a Christopher Nolan Batman, they're like, who's this crazy blonde girl with the hair? And then all of a sudden it creates hype for a character. All of a sudden that book that was a dollar bin book that no one cared about jacks through the roof, becomes a $500 book, and I'm saying American.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Oh my God, dude, I don't even want to talk about our dollar right now because there's some stuff.
Every time I do a podcast, because I always think in Canadian currency,
Yeah.
so I always got to convert it over for people.
Dude.
But
yeah,
it's just it shows that that's how it kind of works with that. That's why again, Superman, Action Comics #1,
well,
Superman's eternal.
For me, the first time I ever noticed anything like that was when Barack Obama was on the cover of that Spider-Man issue, and I went into Comico and Lee was just like arguing with some guy, and I was just like, he was arguing with the guy because the guy came in and tried to convince Lee to sell him every issue that he had of the comic. And Lee was just like, no, I have pull lists to honor, so I can sell you this many, but these like 7 that I have here are for people who have actually been reading the title and it's supposed to be in their bag. And the guy is yelling at Lee, telling him, no, I want all of them. Don't even put them in the bag. I'll pay double the price. And Lee's just like, no, you don't understand. And like you were saying before, it's about like honesty and honor and like, the trust that you have in a comic book store, right? Like you're not just going to screw people over.
And the thing is, especially too, that guy that was asking for, the reality is that, and yeah, sure, there's some exceptions to the rule, but almost most comic books made after like 1993 don't really have like I said, like recently, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Batman comics, a new character named Punchline was introduced.
Yeah, I talked about it on the podcast not this one, but Geektastic Cypher.
Potentially, her first appearance book, maybe 20 years from now, might be funny. But everything else around it over the past 20 years, in terms of like first time Batman broke his back. Okay, maybe I think it was Dark Knight 51. Maybe that book, when the last Christopher Nolan movie came out, maybe that when it spiked a little bit. But all of those kind of go back down and plateau after.
And especially like Punchline, and like you were saying, it also has to do with hype. If they don't do anything interesting with Punchline for the next 20 years, then her appearance will be a drop in the bucket. Which, to be honest, her first appearance, I read the comic, and it's not like she doesn't even speak. It's her in the grass, like spying on someone. And then the next issue is the next appearance is with her and Joker, and they fight somebody. And even then, she doesn't say much.
Usually how it works is you have first appearance and then you have first cover appearance. Those are like the two most important ones. That's why Wolverine, the funny thing with Wolverine is that his first true appearance in comic was Hulk 180.
Yes, at the end, last panel, right?
Literally the last panel. Yeah. But all the money is in Hulk 181 because he's on the cover. And and because he's featured in the rest of the book. Yeah. So like that's the big money book for a lot of people. And it's the same thing with Punchline. It's going to be a demand thing. You look at Harley Quinn. Here she is. She makes first appearance in some comics. She's iconic. People love her. Thank God for the Bruce Timm cartoon and everything that really helped that. But that book really didn't start seeing attention until mainstream media started caring because of movies. Yeah. And that's the sad reality. It goes back to Transformers, is that no one really cared about Transformers until a mediocre Michael Bay movie. Yeah. And a whole bunch of terrible Michael Bay movies. Oh God. Loved. I love it when people ask me what I think about those movies, because their perception is, they see the Marvel movies and they see how much everyone loves those. Yeah. So I must be totally just all over these Bay movies, right? And I'm just like I feel like it's a means to an end. It's like it's a bad relationship, which is like you just learn from it. Yeah. But there's nothing really good about it. It's junk food. You eat it, it's not good for you. They're not great movies, but they serve their purpose from a mainstream standpoint. They make people realize who Grimlock is, who Optimus Prime is. I mean, look, if the next movie truly is Beast Wars, and I hope that they got to keep that Cheetor trademark. They got to keep that Rhinox trademark, so they'll know who those characters are. Yeah. And then hopefully that'll then put an interest in Beast Wars, and then those toys that really kind of had no value for many years because they were 90s toys. Yeah. It increase in value, and give it a second wind. Yeah. It's like playing the stocks when it comes as a toy collector, because you kind of have to see, I remember. It was one of the Comic-Cons. I forget which one. I think it was like 2013 or something, Montreal Comic-Con. It was like 2 weeks before the Green Lantern movie. Oh, God. And everyone was doubling down on that because they thought, oh, man, this Green Lantern movie is going to be such a huge success. So, and at the time, the Blackest Night comic books were happening. Yeah. So, the books were doing well. and there's this movie coming, and I mean it's
DC's
Ryan Reynolds,
rising.
like
Yeah,
come on,
yeah.
it's gonna be great, right? Like, and it just, everyone bought merch, everyone bought all this stuff, and the movie totally just shit the bed.
Oh
It
god,
tanked.
so
And
bad.
then everyone went into conventions just trying to unload on their Green Lantern merch because they were just like, because the speculating was wrong, because they thought that it was going to be the next coming,
Yeah.
and it didn't work. The flip side of that, from a DC standpoint, was the Wonder Woman movie.
Oh.
People were going like, "Oh, I don't know if a female lead movie
Which was
will work."
stupid from the beginning, because Wonder Woman has always been one of the best characters in
But a lot of people from a mainstream standpoint were kind of like, "Oh, I don't know." That movie comes out 2 weeks later. It was Montreal Toy Con. All of a sudden, do you have Wonder Woman merchandise?
Yeah.
Do you have Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Because everyone went crazy for that movie.
I wanted to get the Wonder Woman fitted cap, and I couldn't find it, and that's the thing that drove me. Yeah, it's sold out.
It shows that, like, you really got it's like the stocks. You kind of just have to like look at what's happening. Get that crystal ball out and try to figure out what's going on. And then at that point, then you make sure that you get everything you wanted before, like, the mainstream get it, because that's what creates, ultimately in the end, the value of the market, is that you're having a whole bunch of people that weren't part of that market before now wanting to own that product, and now it takes less off the market. I was actually having a discussion about this because of what's happening now with COVID. A lot of people obviously are laid off of work and they don't have money. Now all of a sudden people are starting to sell a lot of stuff that they don't need. And when you need money, some of the first things you get rid of are those big ticket items that are just taking space in your house. And so now eBay is getting flooded with all kinds of items that you see maybe once every 10 years, I don't want to spoil it. I actually bought a childhood item, and it's so rare. It is so rare, Brian, that you see it maybe once every 10 years on eBay.
Yeah.
And it was something I had as a kid. My parents got rid of it because it was a big item. Big item. My parents never got rid of the smaller toys, but the big toys,
it just took up so much room.
They got rid of it at a garage sale. I finally tracked it down. I'm going to do a photo shoot of it before man, like, that only happened because I know it. Someone probably was just like, I need money.
Yeah.
This is a big ticket item. I spent a lot of money on it, and I need money. It takes space, and there it is. And here's me, who I have like a setting on eBay. It looks for specific keywords.
Oh, nice.
And it finally up, and I was just like, oh man. But I'm seeing a lot of that though. A lot of people. All this stuff is now coming to the market right now. Valuable comic books, valuable toys, valuable collectibles, because there's so many people that just, they can't sit on that little Samsung Nintendo game that's worth $700 that they're never going to play anyways.
Yeah.
So they're better off getting that $700 because they don't got a paycheck coming, and they got a mortgage or whatever. Like, everyone has different situations.
I completely understand. I mean, I'm thankfully in a good situation, so I don't have to sell anything yet. If anything, I just bought. I think you can see behind me. There's that Batmobile that I just built.
The Lego one, yeah.
Yeah, the Lego one. There's another gift that that's being sent to me that someone bought for me recently that I'm really excited about. So I do have to admit I've been blessed in that situation. I'm thank you for the warning about eBay. I probably didn't need to know that, because I know there's a few things. I still very much like the Alternator series for the Transformers that were coming out, the model cars, and those ones.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that, because
those are like every 10 years.
Podcast, and they were asking, because someone asked, they said, because I talked about how it's a buyer's market right now.
Yeah.
And they were like, what are some cheap, small Transformer toy lines to collect right now? And I was like, Alternators, baby.
Yeah.
It's right above me right there.
Yeah.
Like, that line completely tanked in value when Classics came out.
Yeah.
Me as a car guy, I love Alternators, but
they're so nice.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous. So, and I was telling people, if you want to buy Transformers now, there's so much of that stuff hitting the market right now. And how eBay works is, before all of this craziness happened, 2 or 3 guys had said product for, let's say, $30.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, when tons of them come to the market, those guys look at that guy who's asking 30 and going, screw it, I'm going to put 25.
Yeah.
And then the guy goes, okay, I'm going to put 20 then, because they just want to sell it. They want the money.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, who benefits? Us, the buyers. So it really is a buyer's market right now. and there's a lot of good stuff to be found, a lot of rare stuff, and a lot of just mid-tier common stuff because people need money, and that's always the first stuff to go. Look at when we had the recession in 2008, 2009, the same thing happened. A lot of people lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
They needed fast. All of a sudden, the housing market took a dive. All of a sudden, collectibles, trading cards, Magic the Gathering, comic books, everything.
Shout outs to Black
Everything
Lotus. Shout outs to Black Lotus.
That's just it. All of that stuff was showing up on eBay for half of its value.
Oh, damn.
Because people were desperate.
Yeah.
People were desperate. They needed the money because all of a sudden their 401k fell through, or their investment because of the stocks and everything, and the recession just totally tanked, and something that they had huge shares in 50%ed. And it was crazy. And that's what's happening now, is that if you're someone if you're someone who's not in a good financial situation, don't go out and start buying crazy
no
stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're right now and you were eyeing some, that $100 Transformer $100 comic book, check it out now, because it's probably 70, 60, $50 now. I know some of the big toys, online toy stores, they're doing sales like crazy because they need the money.
Yeah.
Because they're their warehouses are sitting there and they don't have their employees, but they're paying the rent every month, so it doesn't make a difference.
And also, I imagine that because some of the toys are being made in, a lot of the factories that are making toys are probably shut down too.
It depends really on, because Hasbro's been really good with it. They kind of saw the writing on the wall many years ago, and they started moving a lot of their operations to Vietnam.
Oh, interesting.
But still, a lot of stuff is made in China.
Yeah.
A lot still is made in China. Marvel, Skinny, he collects Marvel Legends.
Yeah.
That's all still made in China. Star Wars Black Series still made in China. Most Transformers, not all, are made in Vietnam.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Because they have a lot more parts, I imagine, and it's just cheaper to have it assembled elsewhere. But China. What happened over there is obviously affecting the industry. Yeah. And even the comic book industry, because a lot of comic books are printed in Korea. Like in South Korea, they have really good printing studios there and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And to give an example, the trading card industry, Magic the Gathering, that's all Japan, which is Cardamonde and everything. So they have all these different companies that their stuff is being made on that other side of the ocean, and stuff is getting messed up right now.
Yeah.
So
trade is
all those industries are suffering in one shape or form, but it's also, like I said, it's a time to take advantage in a different way. Go back, and I found the biggest thing that I found increase during all of this was a huge interest in video games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Everyone's staying home. Everyone's playing a lot of video games.
Exactly.
The only reason why I say that is because I run a video game convention, and when all of this came down, and then all of a sudden everyone's playing Animal Crossing.
Oh my God!
And it's hilarious. That's like a brand that's been around for 20 plus years, and now everyone's discovered. It's kind of like Pokemon Go. All of a sudden everyone cared about Pokemon for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like High Score Con got all these private messages. My convention, when are you running a show? Right in the middle of this.
What?
Because they're looking for games.
Oh. Okay.
They're like, you want to buy stuff, and I'm suggesting them to groups and stuff. Hey, if you go on this, check this, you'll be able to find stuff. But even then, you have to go to someone's house. It's all sketchy right now to do that stuff.
Yeah, guys, I will tell you guys right now, if you're listening, watching, tuning into this right now, I understand the situation is not the best, but please be patient. If anything, work out a deal with people so that things can be shipped in some which way or form. That seems a lot. Pharmacies are still open. I don't know if the post office are still open, but
they are still open.
Yeah, so you can still ship stuff. I mean, try and do as much social distancing as possible. Don't and it's true. I've heard this too. People picking up stuff at other people's houses. One of my friends was telling me the Facebook Marketplace is booming right now because everyone, like you said, everyone's selling everything. And I'm talking to my friends who are like, yeah, I'm supposed to go to some guy's house in the West Island. I'm like, why are you doing that? You're supposed to be social distancing. Is this person going to throw it on the lawn? How are you going to clean? There's so many things you shouldn't be doing. I know people want stuff, but folks, please consider your health first. And
Montreal is in a sad state of affairs.
Oh my God.
on every social media platform, and it's just me going like, oh god,
Oh man.
you know. Look, I went out to get groceries, and I'm driving by the park, and it's packed, and I'm just going like, god damn,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you know. Maybe because I enjoy just being at home playing
Well,
video
I mean,
games, and some people just need to go out, but at the same time, it's like,
that's the thing. I think for people like us, when I feel like a creative mind doesn't get bored easily, and
nah.
and
I said it to my mother like when we first got the internet back in like '96.
yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to be bored ever again.
Yeah.
And she was, and I was right. Like literally, when I got the internet back in '96, it was just like this open canvas
Yeah.
of I could look up anything, and this is like before even YouTube and
Yeah.
torrents.
Yeah.
Like today, it's even more crazy. But even back then, it was just this like I could just like wake up one morning and go, you know what? I feel like reading every X-Force comic book.
And
There you
just
go.
find them. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like it's crazy, and maybe that's just how I'm wired.
Oh no.
But I could understand. You know what? If I was a guy who was a cyclist,
Of course.
I could imagine
Yes.
how that eats. You know what I mean? Or someone who loves playing like touch football every weekend or something. Like then that would like make you go nuts because you're not going to pick up an Xbox controller and start playing, Madden. You know, that's not going to be your fix. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah.
So it's just like I understand that perspective,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I feel we're not going to get out of this if we keep this up either.
Well,
because like already I feel personally, and I'm no doctor.
Yeah.
I'm no doctor, but even me, I feel we're not getting out of this until minimum November.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, like people have been posting and saying, "Oh, I didn't realize how much time so I'll wrap this up really quick." But people have been saying for the longest time that it feels like they're in class in an elementary school, and the teacher is saying every time someone makes a noise, we stay an extra minute. And kids are making a noise every 10 seconds, and the teacher's just adding minute after minute. But in this case, it's if you guys keep going out like this, we're going to be home another month. And people just keep going out.
Can't give that kid the stink eye and beat him up after class. Because then you're going to get COVID. You know? That's the problem. I'd box you, but then I'm going to start coughing, you know? So it's not going to make a difference.
I don't know if you've watched it, but I wanted to ask you, what would you tell people is one of the best Transformers series to watch? Because I just found out that Tubi, the streaming app, which is free, if I'm not mistaken, has almost all the Transformers series. Because I have the Tubi app, and they just have all the different Transformers series.
I always tell people, like, of the series, because when people started watching the movies and stuff, they're like, now what do I want to watch? I always tell people, like, the two series you could show people, like, the two things you could show people Transformers and not be embarrassed about liking them is the 86 movie.
Yeah.
And because it's fuck, that 86 movie, man.
Beautiful.
Like, that movie is I can't about that enough.
I'm trying to finish my 86 shelf because I have almost all the figures from the 86 movie.
All the characters.
Yeah.
I love the 86 movies, and Beast Wars. I find that Beast Wars is one of those shows, like season 1 is very, we're introducing the toys.
Yeah.
And then, but by the time you hit season 2, it's like, holy shit. Like it is easily, without a doubt, the best Transformer series ever created. Oh, yeah. Everything else, look, G1 was a product of the 80s. I'm not, I'm not expecting, like Schindler's List, out of 1984 Transformer cartoon. It was a 1984 cartoon. It's going to be corny. It's going to be a product of its time. That's fine. People need to understand that it was G1 Transformers. Then it was the Ninja Turtle boom.
Yeah.
It was the Power Ranger boom.
Yeah.
And then it was what I like to call like the mixture of anime boom of Pokemon and Digimon and Dragon Ball, like all that kind of took over in the late 90s. And then in the early 2000s, that was when the internet really started to become mainstream with households. So then it was a mixture of everything. Yu-Gi-Oh! and Bakugan and whatever was the flavor of the month that month. It changed every week.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Transformers, there's always been a series coming out every single year since 1984. It's just people just weren't watching.
Yeah.
And I suggest Beast Wars #1. And then everything else, it matters if you like reading subtitles, because there's a lot of really good Japanese series.
Yeah, I was here. Someone told me that too. They're just like, if you're down with subtitles, because
Master Force. It's called Transformers Super God Master Force. No joke, that's what it's called.
Oh my god.
It's a really good Transformer series, but it's very Japanese.
Yeah.
So if you have the patience for subtitles and watching that stuff, then it's good. Then you have Galaxy Force, which was another one, again Japanese but really good. So it's everyone has their own taste of what they like, but I always tell people Beast Wars. Beast Wars, you know, women love Beast Wars.
Yeah.
Like there's something for everyone in that series because it was so well written. The CG amazingly aged well for what it was at its time.
Yeah, Mainframe, right?
Mainframe Entertainment.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, Canadian company.
Yeah.
Light years ahead of everyone else. Like Toy Story, like if you watch Toy Story 1 and look at the human characters, like
dude,
Andy, looks
so
frightening.
bad. Yeah.
Then you watch what Mainframe was doing like a year prior to that with reboots.
Yeah.
And you go like what? Like they were so ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And you know, today now they're doing Barbie movies and stuff and everything. Like, you know, Mattel pretty much gave them a contract they couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing Barbie movies for the next 10 years. They're like, all right, okay. So, but they were incredible. Another like series, just to stay on the Mainframe tangent for a second, Shadow Raiders.
Okay.
People have talked. That is a very sick series. It's very, very well done sci-fi, adult-based animated CG series that people slept on when it was on YTV back in the day.
Yeah.
I
remember seeing the name, but I don't remember the series much. But
it was very hyped. So I suggest I don't even know if that's on any streaming services, but I think someone put the whole thing on YouTube anyway. So
like they always do.
Yeah, I always say if you could see it legally, see it legally. If you can't find dubious sources, yeah, there's always a way. Always a way.
Do you want to give people your social medias? Because I'm going to put it underneath you or above you when I post this later.
At Protoman on Twitter. That's probably my biggest social media hub.
Okay.
Where I put all the crazy stuff on there. I have my podcast, Transformer Slag Podcast, that I do. Jaws D used to do the old episodes with me before he moved and he got too busy.
I know, yeah. Yeah, he hasn't done our podcast either, Geektastic Cypher, so.
Too good for us, man. That's what happened.
I know, that's a little bastard.
But so we have Transformer Slag Podcast I do. It's a daily Transformer podcast. It's the news every single day because there's always something happening in our hobby. And then it's like, you know, I have an Instagram. I don't really put much on that Insta. Like I put stuff here and there when I feel like it, but I have an Instagram. It's Protoman Gaming, that one.
Okay.
But just Protoman at Protoman on Twitter. That's my main hub for everything.
Perfect, man.
And I have a website, theprotoman.com, which is just everything that I've ever worked on professionally, whether it be Hasbro, comic books and stuff. So it's kind of like a resume, that website. So yeah, this and that. But again, Twitter's probably the best.
Perfect, man. I'll put that right there. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, man. It's always a pleasure catching up with you. We've known each other since, I mean, shout outs to Tim, because Tim just messaged me and said, shout outs to the Carlisle crew.
Tim Kalani.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, we're talking like we went to elementary school together, so that shit's so crazy when we think about it.
Thinking about it not too long ago. It was 1994, so it was 26 years ago. Think about that.
God damn. I don't want to think about that. That's
and again, just me being a dork, it's like I just remember I remember you just bringing that Moto Biker Mice from Mars figure to class.
Yeah.
And it was missing one of the pieces, and I'm just going like, oh man, I want that figure. Yeah. me like super obsessed with Mortal Kombat 2 and comic books at the time.
Oh man, it was great.
Yeah,
but I like the fact that the stuff that we were into as kids continued, so that's always fun. Yeah. But yeah, man, thank you so much. This has been a blast, folks. Make sure to check out all his stuff. I'm gonna post the links. Wait, let me try and point.
This I know way. Everything backwards. I don't know.
I know this way, right there. It's gonna be right there, folks. So yeah, that's it, man. Thank you so much. Keep tuning in to Not a Journalist. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. with another edition. Hopefully, you guys have been enjoying yourselves. Stay home, stay safe. That's it, folks. Thanks again, Protoman.